Good morning. This is Barry Bryson thanking you for joining me for another 5 good minutes in the Word. We're continuing our series, Encountering Jesus, and we begin this series by looking at Jesus' encounters with women in the Gospel of John. And so today we're going to be turning to Luke chapter 10. I want us to turn to Luke chapter 10 because that's where we meet Mary and Martha of Bethany, who play such a key role in the ministry of Jesus in John's gospel. We read about them in John chapter 11 with the raising of their brother Lazarus, and in John chapter 12 when Mary anoints Jesus' head and feet with pure nard and wipes his feet with her hair and prepares him for his death, an act that Jesus values so very highly. But we meet them for the first time in Luke chapter 10, and I want to be looking there and reading this episode because certainly John knew the story. John was there, and John certainly had knowledge of Luke's gospel as he is the last surviving eyewitness from the life of Jesus, almost certainly, as he's writing his gospel in the 90s. And so we meet these women here, and we meet them again in John's gospel, and they're the same women that we know. Their portrait is so vivid, so clear, so consistent that we know these sisters as well as we know the ones we see on Sunday morning. And I so look forward to meeting them one day when we are united with the Lord and are never parted again. In Luke chapter 10, I'm going to be reading verses 38 through 42. Now they were traveling along, and he entered a certain village. We know from John that village is Bethany, just 2 miles from Jerusalem, just over the Mount of Olives, really, from the city of Jerusalem. Going along, he entered a certain village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary who was listening to the Lord's word, seated at his feet. But Martha was distracted with all her preparations, and she came up to him, and she said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Tell her to help me." But the Lord answered her and said, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and bothered about so many things, but only a few things are necessary, really only one. For Mary has chosen that which is good, and it will not be taken away from her." There's so much in this passage that we need to learn. But what I want to do today is to look at Jesus and his encounter with these women, his conversation with these two women. There's so many things to notice. I want us to notice first that that both of these women believe in Jesus, have faith in Jesus. They are expressing that faith and that devotion to Jesus in different ways. Martha in the acceptable way for a woman of her time. Mary, although she is almost completely silent in Scripture, she only ever has one line, and that's to repeat something that Martha has said, is always doing something that is bold and that changes everything. It takes such intestinal strength and courage. And so I hope we don't see Martha as someone who is assertive and Mary as someone who isn't, just because she isn't verbal. I want us also to notice the way Jesus interacts with these women. He appreciates them for who they are. Martha yells at him, "Lord, don't you care?" She doesn't yell at Mary, who is sitting along with the male disciples, a place she would not be welcomed anywhere else, but at the feet of Jesus she is. She's always looking Jesus in the eye, Martha is, and speaking her mind and even accusing him, which she does both times that they have conversations of not doing to suit her. And she does here. And Jesus in no way takes offense at that, but defends Mary. And we find Mary at the feet of Jesus, which is where we always find her. She is always at his feet. In every story that we see her, she's at the feet of Jesus, showing her faith and her devotion in him. Well, tomorrow we're going to go back to Bethany. It'll take us a while to get there because Jesus waits for a little while. And Jesus is going to come a little late to save their brother Lazarus, but he will raise him from the dead. Thank you for joining me for 5 Good Minutes. We'll be in John chapter 11 tomorrow.